All right, so Ed is supposed to join us at 9:30. So we've got like 8 or 9 minutes. Those of you that are already in the lobby, I see that there's a couple of you here. This was an impromptu thing. I really didn't have a lot of time to advertise it. We just put this together and figured out we were doing it a matter of hours ago. So I'm not expecting a lot of people to show up. But I see my boy Fire King is there and he's going to be holding it down. That's my mod. You know, I'll get this recorded and I'll get it out and, you know, everybody can check it out. But we're going to be getting some information about how the staking is going to work. There are some things that I heard about earlier that I'm not sure a lot of people know about. So I'm looking forward to talking to Ed. All right. So if you guys want to hang out for another 7 or 8 minutes, Ed will be with us and we will get started. Thanks a lot. What's going on, brother?
Tired.
Yeah. You're in the same time zone as me because you're in Pennsylvania, right?
Right. Yeah. 9:30. Yeah.
I'm usually in bed by 8:30.
Yeah. I mean, the kids, you got to put the kids down and then I'm totally wiped out. But
oh, geez. I'm so beyond that. My youngest is 21.
Oh.
So I don't think he wants me tucking him in anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
All right, listen.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't want to keep you a long time. You know, I know you want to get to bed. I want to get to bed, but there are a lot of questions about what's going on, and I'm not going to ask you a bunch of questions because you are the man with the answers anyway. So I'm going to kind of just let you run. But earlier, if I can, let me just go to this real quick. What started a big conversation earlier was something actually that you posted. Let me see if I can find it. Within the Discord, and this says we have 60.82% that have confirmed upgraded. We're talking about the validators. We have 77.42% that have committed, but we are still waiting for their confirmation. Now, somebody posted that in the media room, and then big conversation came after that. You know, a bunch of different questions about how all this works. Now, this was earlier today. Do you have a newer update for us?
I can check. I don't think so. I think that's been, that number's holding steady. You know.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we need 2/3, right? We need 66%.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're not quite there yet, but I mean, it's only been what, 3 days, 4 days? What has it been?
Yeah. So when did we start this? I think we started 7 days before. So I think it was last Friday we decided to move forward with the instructions, and then so it's only been like 4 or 5 days. Oh yeah, I mean Friday's coming up, right? So we only have
yeah.
So.
I mean, honestly, that's quite a lot in such a short time. You know, and on that trajectory, I don't see any problem hitting the 66% and maybe going beyond that. Do you?
I don't think so. I mean, from the Discord conversations, from the Twitter, and then I think some people have been on various validators telegrams and that sort of thing. It seems like we have more than enough committed, even more than I mean, I think we said like 77% committed, but from what I'm seeing, I think we might have a little bit more committed than that, but as of now, I think the 60-some% is what's been confirmed. Yeah.
So when you say committed, they've given you a verbal, we're going to do it. They just haven't done it yet.
Right. Yeah. They said we're committed to supporting the Terra Classic chain. We will upgrade in the next 24 hours, or we'll upgrade before, you know, the 26th comes around. So
actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. Right? we don't want to, you know, say that we've hit that number unless we actually know that they've done the update. So yeah.
Right. And I thought that that was important to get out because there's a lot of things that I've already seen on Twitter about validating is here. We've already, no,
Right.
we're not quite there yet.
Right.
All right.
Not quite.
It,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen until it happens. We need the 66%. Now, let's say we blow past the 66%. We get up to the 75%, maybe 80%. What difference does that really make?
Well, I actually think like the 50% mark, even though it didn't have any technical, didn't really have any technical meaning behind it. I mean, because like the 1/3 was halting the chain, and then sorry, are we live or are we
We
about to
are live, sir.
Okay. I thought we were
Did you not know that?
I thought we were just chatting before.
Just make believe. There's nobody here. It's just me and you.
All right. So
I mean, honestly, I really didn't advertise it much. There's like 2 people in the lobby right now, so let's make I'm gonna record it and put it out so everybody can see it.
Sounds good. Because
Right.
I think the technical milestones that we were looking for was the 1/3 in order to halt the chain. So if we got 1/3, then we would essentially force people to make force the validators to make a decision at the moment of the consensus breaking block. And then the 2/3 obviously is that other technical milestone where the chain will not halt and it'll just continue moving. But I think maybe the psychological break was really the 51%, because if you think about like if the chain were to have halted, what possible scenarios could happen in that situation? I think like, if less than 50% had upgraded at that point, then I think there would have been some hesitation from the ones that upgraded. It's like, oh, well, do we just sort of back down then? Do we sort of go back to the old code? But given, the momentum, and then we passed the 51%, and now we're at 60, I think essentially the writing's on the wall now that everyone's going to sort of go along with it. And and I think it's more clear now to the ones that haven't upgraded that if they don't, there's going to be a penalty in terms of they're not going to reach consensus on their node. And if they don't reach consensus, they don't participate in the signing of blocks. If they don't participate in the blocks, they get jailed, and then their delegations get slashed. And they won't be able to join the active set again unless they update their code. So I think it's like, it's either for the ones that haven't upgraded, it's like, what do I do? Do I just leave, or do I just go along with the upgrade? So I think that's sort of the situation now. And it just seems like the most logical thing would just do the upgrade. So
now, I know a lot of things have been going on behind the scenes. Vegas and maybe you, I'm not sure, but have had a little contact with TFL. So these things have been happening with you guys, and what's going on, the conversations and everything. For us, it seems like a light bulb all of a sudden went on, and all of a sudden we have support now where we didn't have it before. So I mean, how long has this been in the works? Because to us, it just happened like overnight.
I mean, it's definitely been a long process. We've been trying to reach out to TFL for the last 3 months or so, and it's like we were making slow progress. Basically, we were like talking to this person who is vaguely related to TFL, which then led to another person who is like, more closely. So it was kind of like we sort of walked up a network, and then eventually, Vegas talked to the right people, and then we started. Vegas was talking to Do Kwon himself, and then introduced me, and then I think And then it was like you said, it's almost like a light bulb, because once we sort of got the green light to well, we didn't, but TFL got the green light to merge our code into the code base. Then it seemed like the TFL policy of not talking to us sort of flipped, and it was like, okay, now that your code is in the code base, now we're gonna talk to you, and now we're gonna, push this through with you. So
they were straight up being held back, right? It's not that they were, I mean, they weren't allowed to do it, and then they were allowed, right?
I'm not I don't know their internal policies, but from what I understand, it was like once like our code was in their GitHub, then it was like, we're gonna sort of reach out and talk to you guys. So there did need to be sort of a flip of a switch on their end, which luckily happened. So
now you said something about 3 months, right? It's been about 3 months, right? Why does it feel like it's been 2 years?
I think our internal clocks tell us it's probably been about 2 years working on this thing, but
yeah,
I mean, in some ways it's been 3 months, but it almost feels like yesterday in some aspects, and then some
really?
aspects it's just like, gosh, it's been forever. So
Well,
I don't know. Time is just blurring these days.
What you guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again. What you guys have accomplished in such an unbelievably short amount of time is nothing short of miraculous. I mean, pulling a rabbit out of your hat, and you're really to be commended and appreciated, and applause. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. All right, so let's get into it. Friday, the 26th, right? That's when the block height reaches, the technical stuff, and that's when this all jumps in, right? When does that happen? Is that like we're both in Eastern time? That's around supper time, sometime on Friday, right?
Right. I mean, we're estimating, and the last I checked was, I think, a week ago, the exact time. So the number the block number stays fixed, but the amount of time between each blocks can vary. So I think it is around, Eastern time, something like 5 or 6 p.m. On Friday. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right, and so explain to everybody what happens. Okay, we hit the block, it hits the height. What happens from that point on?
Yeah, so it really is kind of a simple change in the code. Essentially, like there's a one line of code that was put in before that essentially said, like, no one would I guess there's 2 lines. No one can delegate, so no one can choose a validator and delegate their coins to them. So it when you call that function, it wouldn't get past this line of code. And then also there's a similar line of code that says no one can create new validators. So they essentially prevented these blocks of code from running. And then so what we did is we said, well, so when you get to this line of code, we said, well, we'll actually let the code pass through if the block height is greater than 9109990 or something, whatever that block height is. So essentially we're just saying, like, just that sort of barricade that was there before, we're just going to let the code pass through. And so it's essentially going to allow the code to run like it did before the security patch was put in.
Okay, all right. So then, all right, so we have governance reestablished. All of the proposals and everything that is already passed, does that immediately go into effect? Is there some other steps that have to be taken?
So the delegation will sort of barrier will be removed at on Friday, the 26th, and then the create new validators that actually stays for another 60 days. So that'll be October 26th around that date when that code will be allowed to pass through. And then there's, I mean, there was a bit of a tricky, the tax part of the code is a little bit trickier to do. It wasn't a simple, just like, one line fix. It was, we had to rework the whole stability tax that TFL had put in before. The stability tax was just on UST. And so anytime that a Luna transaction came through, that it would never get taxed. And so we just had to rework the stability code so that Luna would also be taxed, but that there is a block height there as well, which is sometime in September. I think September 12th or so is when it would be possible to tax Luna or LUNC. But then it still requires a parameter proposal for that to for the tax to actually go up. Right now the tax is 0 for UST and LUNC, so that parameter proposal is necessary.
There were some other changes kind of that were made too, as far as the validators. Tell everybody about the 20%.
Yeah. Right. So the whole idea about the 60-day window before creating new validators is that when LUNC inflated its total supply, and you look at how much was staked on all of the different validators, it would have been very easy during the depeg to buy millions of LUNC, and then you could immediately delegate or even create a new validator with that million LUNC and just completely take over the chain. Take over the chain meaning like I could easily get like 66% of the voting power by myself, because the amount of delegations was much lower at the time, well, still is. So that was partially why the security patch went in the first place. They wanted to prevent anyone that was able to buy some of this newly minted Luna to just create a new validator, take over the chain. So and that was a big concern in re-enabling the delegation and staking, because immediately when that block hits on Friday, someone with 100 million LUNC could come in, create a new validator, and just take over the chain immediately. So that was a big concern. So what we did was we added this the set of checks essentially that says if someone were to delegate to a validator. So first of all, new validators can't come in. So that was one sort of security measure. They can't come in until 60 days. So basically what we're saying is the only attack vector that could possibly happen is to someone who is already a validator. And we thought that was, I mean, that's a pretty strong measure, I think. But then again, we don't want to leave anything to chance here. Like, so essentially what we said was, okay, so no new validators, but even if someone were to be malicious in this active validator, well, in the validator set, if you try to delegate more than 20%, so if you try to delegate to a validator and that delegation would cause their voting power to go over 20%, that delegation would fail. And so it's an interesting dynamic here because I don't know, let's say you try to delegate and a million LUNC and it fails. If you try to delegate a million LUNC a few minutes later, it might go through. And the reason why is because as the delegators, or sorry, as the validators get more and more LUNC delegated to them, then the total number of LUNC goes up, and then your 1 million LUNC delegation is less of a percentage of the total supply of delegated supply. So then it might actually go through. So it's, I mean, it's a little bit, it'll be a little bit tricky in the first couple blocks to figure out, like, you know, how much you can actually delegate at that moment. But the security measure will allow it to grow, but it'll grow slowly, essentially. Yeah.
It seems like there are a couple of early favorites, and I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to steer anybody in any direction. I think that everybody should do their own research, do their due diligence, and look into these validators and figure out who best aligns with you, who you want to stake with, who you want to delegate. But there seems to be a few early front runners. Now, let's say out the box, somebody gets to that 20%, and then I come in and I try to stake with them. Do I get like an error message? What happens?
Yeah, so so you'll go into your TerraStation wallet and you'll try to delegate, and it'll look like it'll kind of look like it's going through. It'll broadcast the transaction, and it'll come back and it'll just say message delegate failed. And then I mean, that's sort of the only message you're going to get, and then you just have to essentially try again. So yeah, and we've actually tested the situation, because this was a concern of mine. If like 2 delegations came at the exact same block to the same validator, and then, you know, with if they were both accepted, then they would jump over the 20%. But in fact, it's the first one that comes in is going to be accepted. The second one is going to get rejected. So, you know, even if it's like you calculate the amount of LUNC that can be accepted by this validator under the 20% rule, it still might fail because maybe someone else beat you to it. So I don't know. I think in the early you know, the early set of blocks, you're gonna get, there's gonna be a little bit confusion around the delegation, because somebody's gonna fail if they try to do too big of a stake. But I would just say, just be patient and try again a little bit later.
So one of the things that came up in the conversation in the Discord room was how early you actually stake. Somebody said we were talking about the fact that the earlier, as far as like percentage rewards, the staking rewards, your percentage return, someone was saying that it's going to kind of like deflate, and the earlier, you know what I'm talking about, right? The earlier you stake, the better your rewards. Explain how that works.
Yeah. So you can imagine, like, imagine the pool of rewards is always fixed. So I don't know, just say it's like 100, and it's going to be distributed based upon the voting power of the validators, and then how much you've contributed to the voting power of that particular validator. So so if there's, you know, let's say the pool is 100, and you know, the amount of delegation to each one of these validators is like, I don't know, 10 or something like that. Then that 10 is going to get much more of that 100 pool, right? But if all of a sudden everybody's delegating, and then that 10 is now 1,000, then that 10 is, you know, if you delegate 10, you're not going to get the same percentage of that pool as if is, you know, when the number of delegations goes up. So so basically, the more delegations that go in, the more spread out the pool of rewards will be. And so if you're in early, you'll get more of the pool for less delegation, but I don't expect it to I kind of expect the delegation to go up pretty quickly, maybe even exponentially. So like even if you're in
and
early,
level off.
yeah, it probably won't even matter. In maybe you'll have a few hours of better
Okay.
rewards, but
I mean, I didn't know if it was days or weeks or whatever,
well,
but okay.
I actually have no idea. Maybe
Yeah.
it will be days or weeks, but I imagine it'll go up pretty quickly. So
Ed, what is the typical percentage of the supply that's normally staked? I don't know if there is a normal or a typical, but I mean, what is that? Is there a percentage?
I can't say for sure. It's definitely not like I think it varies from crypto to crypto. So I don't think it's like 50. It's from what I've seen in the past with some of these other ones, it's definitely less than 50%. So
All right. Well, let me ask it to you this way, okay? What difference does it make if, let's say, 30% of the supply is staked, as opposed to everybody goes crazy and 70% of the supply is staked? What does that do?
Well, so when you stake your coins, you're making a commitment for at minimum 21 days. And so the blockchain won't let you withdraw within 21 days. So essentially you're taking your lunk out of the circulating supply. Meaning less is available to be traded. You are in essence, it helps in many ways, right? So it takes it out of the circulating supply. Less is on the exchanges. There's more certainty for the blockchain that the volatility of trades will not be as crazy. So it's like it's more of a stability. I know a lot of people are talking about the burning, which takes it out of the total supply, takes it out of circulating supply. I think there might be some aspect of that to the stake as well, taking out of the circulating supply. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. This is never
if that happened and a greater amount came out of the circulating supply while it's being staked. I guess the question that most people ask is, what is that going to do to the price? I mean, you would think that it might have some effect on the price, right? Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, we still got utility. We have a lot of other things that kind of affect it.
Right.
But all right. Because I guess in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about how much Binance is holding right now, and what are they going to do with it? What happened if, like, what are they up to right now, percentage wise? Like 60-something%.
I think the Binance wallet has less than 40. I think it's like 30.
Oh, okay. All right. So what if they stake that whole thing? You know what I mean? And then we all stake too, and it's just thoughts running around in the back of my head. So once this settles, a couple hours or whatever it is, and levels off, what do we know what we're looking at for rewards and percentages and stuff, like whereabouts that'll be? No way to tell.
No, it's all going to depend on how much people decide to delegate.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the other things that came up was whatever the rewards are, whatever they turn out to be, they are not automatically redelegated, right? It's something, I don't know if you're aware of this, something we were talking about in the group. They have to manually be collected and do whatever you're going to do with them. And I think that you collect them like every 3 weeks. I think that's the rule right now. And then if you want them to go back in to be delegated, I think you have to do it manually. Do you know about that?
That I'm not, I don't know about that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's just something that came up, something I guess that we can look into a little more. All right. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I think, we pretty much covered that. There might be some other questions, but it's like we're not going to know until it happens, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk real quick on the 1.2, because it's always, some people care about it, some people don't think it's really going to do that much, but it's always a question of the community. So
Yeah.
once all this happens, how do we get this 1.2% tax going?
Yeah, so I think although the staking and delegation is a breaking change in the blockchain, meaning like we needed to get all these validators on board and change the code. I think the tax is more of a breaking change for third parties, meaning like everyone, that all the dApps and other exchanges, whoever interacts with the chain, they're going to have to change the way that they do their transactions. Now I would say the good thing is that the stability tax that we altered on the blockchain, it already existed. It wasn't like we came in and created taxes out of thin air. Stability tax was a thing for UST. It was active until I think January of this year. So it was only recently that they took off stability tax and set it to 0. Meaning, like, if you look at all of the well, not all of them, but a lot of the smart contracts that I've been looking at, they have code already that says, that checks the tax cap, calculates the gas correctly. They turned it off. So all they need to do for those apps that were existing before January, they just have to turn it back on. So I think that's sort of the nice thing about some of these changes. And again, so even the central exchanges that were trading UST, they have this code. It's not like it's something new that they have to develop. So I think that's hopefully the bright side of this breaking change. But it's going to be a big change for a lot of third-party integrations to the chain. So I think that's something that we've started to investigate and explore who is interacting with this chain, in what capacity. We've been reaching out. There's been a monumental effort in the back end to just find out everybody who's been interacting with the chain and contact them. So I think that works in place. We did have a block in the tax code to make sure that even a parameter proposal wouldn't change the tax for Luna until September 12th, just because we want to make sure that everything's sort of in place. But yeah, I would say it's not up to me, really. It's up to the people that have been doing this, reaching out to third parties, I think Vegas and some other people. And then once they feel comfortable that enough people know that this is coming, I think then maybe we can think about putting that parameter proposal in.
Right. And I always want to add that, we understand that utility is going to be paramountly important here. Okay. So I'm not trying to negate that.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we need to get that going. But as far as the tax goes, assuming everyone adopts it and it gets going, the exchange is implemented or whatever, what's your opinion? Is it real? Is it going to be like hugely effective, like people think? Or I mean, I've heard different things even from your
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. It's to me, it's questionable. Because when I used to transact with crypto, I was using ETH a lot, and then I mean the gas fees were so high in ETH. I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I switched to like Solana, and so I like my feeling is that um I'm hoping that that's not the case, right? Because like we don't want people to stop using Lunk because the gas fees or the taxes are so high, right? So that would be the the bad outcome. But um, you know, what's interesting is that we've been in contact with Binance now, which is the big player here, and it sounds like before we were chasing after them, like Vegas was saying, what he was saying. Now they're coming to us, right? They're asking things from us in terms of, hey, what about this? Or can you whitelist our hot wallet or something? Hey, Matt Perry, how's it
Mr. Matthew
going?
Perry.
Hey. So the fact that they're like coming asking things about our implementation on the blockchain makes us think that, hey, maybe we can ask something in return. So
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we have a party crasher. Matt, can you hear us?
it says that he's connecting to audio.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll let him get himself together. Yeah, I sent Matt the link, and I was hoping he could get in. He probably had to. There, you're there, right? Can you hear me now?
I can kind of hear people. So
Yeah, there you are, Matthew Perry. Everybody, have you guys met Matt?
No, I don't think so.
Matt? No.
Matt, how's it going?
hey,
Ed,
how
do
are
you
you?
golf?
Do I
I've
golf?
seen some stuff here and there. I've seen some interviews on your channel. I've been watching for a while me and my wife were watching a movie, so I couldn't really get out of that. That's why.
Hi, Erica.
But yeah,
Yeah, no,
I've
you're
been
both
watching
in
for a while. I've been
Pennsylvania.
listening to
That's
a
why
lot
I
of
was
stuff.
asking if you golf, because
Really?
Matt loves to golf.
No, I golf once every 2 years. So
All right. Yeah, well, so listen, I invited Matt in because I knew that he had probably a couple questions. So I'm going to let you go ahead and fire away, Matt, because me and Ed are yawning and getting ready to go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the time here, but I think there was just one like kind of loaded question that I've been getting, around, and it's really around like the 1.2%, like burn that's here, or I guess coming about. Really, it's just the mindset on like where the numbers really came from with like the 10 billion total that they're looking to get down to, like why the 10 billion is such a significant number, and why wasn't it like an idea to where it would go back down to the original maybe 1 billion or so that we can see more of a price to hopefully, and I don't know if this is the idea to peg USTC and re-enable the algorithm. I don't know if that's really the mindset, but what really went into those numbers?
yeah. Well, so I guess the history of it was that right when the DPEG happened, there were a lot of proposals or maybe discussion in the Agora forums about how to deflate, right? So I think the first proposal that went in was a 3% proposal on tax all transaction 3%, and that ultimately, I believe that failed to pass.
Yeah.
And then another proposal popped up, and it was by this guy named Vegas, who I guess I don't know exactly where that number came from, but I think a lot of the criticism of the first one was 3% was way too high.
Yeah.
And so that came down to 1.2, which which did pass, right? So I don't know. I don't know why that 1.2 was chosen. But it seems, I think it was maybe just in the context of the 3%.
Yeah. Well, the
passing.
reason that I bring that up is because like there's so many different areas, so many different places that you can go with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would imagine the whole idea is to kind of get everything back to a form of normalcy.
Right.
And when you look at USTC, you look at Terra Luna Classic, you want to find a way to get them back to a point to where Terra Luna Classic supports USTC if anything happens, if it gets depegged again and stuff like that. But the idea is to, in my opinion, is to create some sort of security so all of that of what just happened, a couple of months ago doesn't happen again. So was there ever a thought, or were there any proposals that came up that was just like 1.2% for all the way until we get to a point where we have a certain maybe 10 billion to pay back USTC? Hopefully that makes sense, because I know the idea, I guess, was to take the 10 billion, pay back USTC somehow, some way, and get that back to a repeg state and hopefully re-enable the algorithm. Was there any thought in something like that?
Yeah, I mean, so when we ultimately ended up implementing the 1.2% proposal, it's not the same as the text proposal that originally Vegas had created. So it's essentially a variable. It's a variable tax that can be changed via parameter proposal, meaning it doesn't have to be 1.2. That's just what was passed before. You can change it at any time. You can change the distribution of where those taxes go. So it doesn't have to be burned. There's another parameter that can be set to how the distribution goes. Does it go to the community pool? Does it go to the validators? So that there's also that parameter that can be set. And then there's no cap on the tax either. So you can burn all the way, I don't know, to 100 million if you wanted to. I don't know how you do that, but essentially there's no cap either. So like all of those specifics of that 1.2% proposal, those were sort of abstracted away in the code, so to be much more flexible. And so I think moving forward around, yep, go ahead.
So just to be clear, so it's in how we're looking at it now, it's not saying that once it gets to 10 billion, that 1.2% will be cut off. Is that what you're saying? That it will not be cut off?
I mean, at the moment, if we get to 10 billion, I think total supply, I think that was what they were saying. It'll just keep going until someone goes in.
That's the way the proposal was structured, right? That it would stop there.
That's what the proposal said, but then there's nothing in the code that's going to stop it.
Okay, well that's a good deal, because I was thinking that a lot of things were being brought up to me, asking me, hey, can you put this proposal through? And I can't put any proposal through. I'm not a validator or anything like that. But they were like, what if it was a 1.3% and 0.1% went to like a community pool? So what you could possibly do is take the 1.2%, and as you don't really need to burn any, put all into a community pool, then take, if you get up to 10 billion, pay back USTC to, repeg it, and then hopefully re-enable the algorithm while Terra Luna Classic, I can't speak, Terra Luna Classic is still decreasing in supply.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. In fact, I think instead of burning or maybe increasing the burn or something, I think we can start to collateralize USTC.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about it, and it's like when you have this let's say 10 billion over here, and let's say you do have a lot of hype in USTC, and people know that it's going to be repegged to $1. Most likely, people are going to buy it up to 20, 25 cents, 50 cents, and then maybe you don't need to pay back that 10 billion and have 5 billion in like a treasury just in case any sort of attack or collapse comes again. So then it's backed by real world assets.
Right. Well, I
Okay.
think, yeah, I mean, I think we would want to back it by by BTC.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, something that has other value
yeah,
besides the two positions that are in the algorithm there.
right. Right. And we want to like a reserve of
Yeah.
our own to back it too. Yeah. So
Yes.
I wrote all those
So then
questions for Matt.
you have a question for me?
I said I wrote all those questions for you.
That was literally one loaded question. I was getting that so many different ways in my
I knew
comment
you were coming in
section.
with that because we've talked about it so much in the live stream.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it literally every single comment was coming with that. And I was just like, all right, I'll ask it whenever I get a chance. And I felt like this was the best opportunity to do that. So
There's a question, Ed, that keeps popping up in the live stream, and I don't know if you have any idea about any of this, but people keep asking about, or maybe it's one person keeps asking about the relation between LUNC and Wrapped Luna. Do you guys have any idea what's going on with Wrapped Luna?
so I'm trying to follow what the conversation is around Rep Luna, and I might be completely wrong here, but I believe the argument or the not the argument, the proposal for Rep Luna is that there was a smart contract, and I think this is mostly, this is the Ethereum Wrapped Luna, but the smart contract is an immutable, it's a contract, right? That you can always swap your Wrapped Luna for Luna. I think that's the argument here. And the fact that when they swapped
Is
the
it a one
name,
for one?
when they changed Luna to Lunk,
Okay.
the smart contract still says you can trade Wrapped Luna for Luna, right? So if you have 100 million Wrapped Luna and you trade it for Lunk, that's, I don't know, what is that? I forget, but $1,000 or something US. If you trade Wrapped Luna for Luna, 100 million, that's $100 million, right? And I think that's the argument with Wrapped Luna. I'm not following it completely, but I think the argument, it's a smart contract that says I can always trade my Wrapped Luna for Luna, even though the name of Luna has changed to Lunk. It should still be, I should still be able to swap it for Luna, right? So I think that's what the argument is, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Yeah.
Matt, I've seen the question come up in the chat so many times during your live. I don't know if you've actually addressed it, but weren't people's Wrapped Luna being held hostage at some point?
Yeah, in Coinbase, I know Coinbase wasn't allowing you to sell it, and that's where a lot of the questions were coming from. You couldn't really get out of it, but I really didn't know how to answer the question besides not really understanding the difference between the two, but understanding that Coinbase wasn't allowing you to do anything with it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So I think Coinbase stopped the trading of Wrapped Luna, but I think you can still exit if you wanted to. I'm not 100% sure, which is why I'm kind of confused about what the situation is over there.
Yeah,
because
I don't know if I've probably been receiving some messages about or comments about like what is the difference between it, or should I get Wrapped Luna over Lunic or something like that, and I didn't really know how to answer it on what you should get because I'm used to just getting Lunic. But yeah, I was confused at that.
All right, Matt, is there anything else you wanted to ask before we go? Because I'm going to let Ed go shortly.
No, I think that was it. I think that loaded question really got the answer to, and just hearing that it's open to past 10 billion doesn't really, we don't really need to put in any type of another proposal. It's something where we know we can get down to 100 million if we wanted to, or 1 billion if we wanted to. So that really answers, basically.
You're going to make another chart, aren't you?
Basically, yes.
Ed, is there anything else you wanted to get out before we go?
Well, maybe just one thing, because I know how painful the proposal, the governance system has been in the past 3 months. And there, I think the main reason why is that because governance is broken, right? So the whole idea of you can't delegate, you can't stake, and therefore you can't vote. And I think that's why this procedure of talking to the validators, trying to convince them to get on your side essentially has been so difficult. But I don't want the past 3 months of difficulty with governance to reflect in the future, because I think once we can delegate, once we can stake, then we have a vote. And I think that's going to be really important, that people vote to change how the future of this blockchain works. And it will be reflective of the actual staking of people's LUNC. So I think that's important.
All right, awesome. All right, Edward Kim, everyone, the brains of the Terror Rebels. That's what they call you, the brain, Mr. Professor. I appreciate you coming. This is the second time you being on my channel, and I really do appreciate it. You always come with the answers, and I hope that you'll come back again.
Sure, this is a pleasure.
Matthew Perry, I could be here for half an hour announcing all the golf channel, the gaming channel, the shit burn channel, the Matt Perry every morning, somewhere between 7 and 8, whenever he gets the kids to school, live on YouTube. Check him out. I'll be there too every time I can. Guys, thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good night. Fist bump.
See.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, see you.